Hello and welcome to the Fixit Shed. So this is a 2004 Honda Rebel 250, and in the last episode I kind of did a walkthrough and showed you everything I knew about the bike. It didn't want to start. We did get it to fire up a little bit with starting fluid, so it's not getting any fuel to the engine. So today I'm going to pull the carburetor and we're going to try and clean that. Alright, first I'm going to set it up in the stand. I don't really need to work on the carburetor, but for the sake of filming, it'd be easier if the bike was even on both sides. Alright, so the air cleaner is still opened up from last time, so all I did was remove the side cover. The cover on the box was held on by 4 screws. I removed those and I pulled the air filter out. Alright, so I'm going to start off on the right side of the bike, and the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the throttle cables. And if you look, there's some play in here. If I turn the throttle, you can see there's some play. That shouldn't be. It should be a little bit more snug than that so that you have an immediate response. So when we put it back together, I'm going to have to adjust that a little bit. Let's see. We're just going to loosen this one. And then that'll pop out. There we go. And then I'm going to take this bracket off, and then we can move. Well, let's see. Should be able to disconnect this side. Yeah. So that's free. All right, and then I'm going to disconnect this bracket and free up the other side. Alright, now with that loose, we should be able to just unhook this throttle cable, and then we're going to move it out of the way. Alright, and now I'm going to loosen up the nut on the intake. Alright, got that nut off. And I'm going to loosen this hose clamp on the intake, on the air intake side. Alright, that looks, yeah, plenty loose there. Okay, so, and now we're going to jump over to the left hand side. And I'm going to remove the nut on the other side of the engine intake. Alright, and I'm going to try and remove this fuel line. These can be a little stiff the first time that they've been removed in a while. Clamp off. There we go. Give it a little twist. So now this is still going to be full of fuel, so be careful when you take it out. And you obviously want to make sure that the fuel is off before you disconnect this. There we go. That's disconnected. I'm just going to move that. Try and move it out of the way a little bit. There. Alright. Now, this is the fuel bypass, or some people call it a choke, but it's actually a fuel bypass. It's not really a choke. And then, so I'm going to disconnect that. This is a 14 millimeter. Let's see, we're going to go this way with it. Well, that came loose pretty easily, actually. disconnected. It's unscrewed. Let me see. Yeah. I can move it up out of the way. With my other one, I could take this and kind of shove it up underneath the tank a little bit to get it out of the way. This one doesn't want to do that. Anyway, it's disconnected. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to push the carburetor back into the airbox a little bit to get it over these studs. And to do that, there's a bracket here that's on the other side, so I'm going to have to remove that bracket because that'll be in the way. And we're also going to need to undo these wires. There we go. Pull that out of the way. Now these wires and hoses can come out. Yeah, because otherwise these are going to be in the way when you're trying to push the carburetor back into the airbox. Alright. Alright, so let's go over back on the other side and remove that bracket. Alright, so to remove this bracket, there are two bolts, one here and one that's hard to see underneath. There's another wire holder thing here that you can, there we go. I'm gonna pull this out, make my life a little bit easier. So then you can see the other bracket underneath here. So that I can see it anyway, I'm not sure if you can. Okay, now that bracket's no longer in the way. Now we're gonna move back over to the left side. All right, so inside the airbox is this rubber air intake hose that connects to the carburetor, and we're gonna want to kind of work around that and we're gonna kind of want to work around the edge and pull that into the airbox to give us room enough to pull the carburetor out. Kind of hard for me to get my hand in there and still show you what I'm doing, so I'm gonna put you back on the stand. Alright, so actually I think you can see in there now I've pulled that in, and now I can move the carburetor. So, and we're going to take the carburetor out the other side of the bike. Alright, so now we should just be able to pull this back, get it off of the intake studs. There it goes. Alright. And there it goes. And now we should be able to just pull it out this side. And there are still some hoses that are connected to it, so be careful you don't get those snagged. Yeah. So there's that one. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but okay. It worked. I feel like I'm still okay, hung up here. Alright, that needs to come out. So this is the fuel bowl, and right here is the screw for the drain. So I'm gonna see if I can drain out whatever is in there so it doesn't just dump all over my workbench. Yeah, it's a little yellowish. That's not super great looking gas. I don't see any moisture in it, so it looks clear. Sometimes if there's moisture, it'll look cloudy, or you'll end up seeing a little bit of a puddle. So we're going to let that sit and see if we get a puddle, but it looks pretty clear. It's just a little yellow. Still smells good though. Smells like gas. Doesn't smell like it has gone bad. Alright, so now I'm going to take off the fuel line. Okay, get the fuel line off and take off this line, this one. Alright, now all the hoses are off. Put those off to the side. Now we can get into taking this thing apart. Alright, so we can remove the throttle adjustment. Which has a little bit of a wobble to it, so it's bent. Alright, there's a little cotter pin on here. Teeny tiny cotter pin. And then hold on to the spring in the washer so they don't go shooting across the room. And this little plastic piece. Alright. And somebody's already cut that off, it looks like. So there's a tab on the fuel adjustment, but somebody's already trimmed it so that you can turn this beyond this barrier. This feels like it has been taken apart recently, because sometimes if they haven't, they really fight you getting these screws out. And these are coming out pretty easily. This is the accelerator pump. And we're probably going to get a dump of fuel coming out of here. Once I get this open. Yeah, there's some fuel coming out. That spring out. Why are you sticking? And we should be able to get the float bowl off. Yeah. I think the last one, the for the 02 Rebel, probably had not been opened since it was new, which is 20 years. This feels like it's been opened recently, because it's coming apart very easily. Alright, so we've got the 4 screws that hold the float bowl on. Okay. Alright. And there's the float bowl, and inside looks pretty clean. And we can pull out the float. there's the pin for the float, and remove the float and the needle. This all looks suspiciously clean. Super clean. Okay. Okay. Alright, we're going to take this top section off. And there's a spring under this cap, so you want to hold it carefully so things don't go flying across the room. Okay. And we can pull out the piston and the needle. And there's the jet, the needle jet. All right, that was in here. All right, the needle jet holder was holding it in place. Okay. That's the slow jet. Everything looks clean. And I can see through it. You don't want to poke anything through this one. There is a small screen in there. But yeah, I can see through it. Alright, so yeah. So the gas is kind of looks like apple juice. It doesn't smell bad. I don't see any moisture in there, but it's not a great color. There's only a little bit of dirt in there. I see a couple of specks of things floating around, but that may have been in here before I poured the gas into it. Take the needle out. Looks alright. Alright, so, and we got a couple of rubber pieces to get out. I believe that is, this valve needs to be, this is the air fuel mix valve. And, yeah. There's a gasket and a washer in here. That needs to come out. There we go. There's the washer. Now there's a little rubber O-ring in there too. There it is. Now I think that's everything. So that's ready to go. Trying to take this out gently, but somebody glued it in pretty good. There we go. We're just going to dip all of the metal parts, and anything that has plastic or rubber we're going to keep out. Okay, got all of these jet pieces. In there. Needle in there. That's soaked, but I need to get this rubber piece off of here yet. So that's off. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Alright, we're gonna soak for a little bit. Alright, so I want to see what the gas coming out of the tank looks like, so I'm going to put this hose back on here. Just a little bit, and drain some of the gas out. It's still kind of yellowish, but I think I'm still going to drain it out and put fresh gas in. Put a little longer piece of fuel hose on here. So I'm probably going to want to get a new one of these, but let's make sure we can get this running first. Alright, let's reassemble the accelerator pump. We're going to put this little rubber boot on. Alright, that's on. Alright, that's in there. And we need the spring. Okay, and the cover. And the 3 screws. Alright, accelerator pump is back together. Alright, so we're going to put the needle valve back in. So when you put the needle valve holder in, this side needs to, or when you put the needle valve in, that needs to match up to the holder like that. So we're going to put the thin-walled side in first. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to put in the slow jet. And okay, so now we're going to put in the air fuel mix valve. So we need to put the spring on, and then you put the flat washer on, and then you put the O-ring on. Okay, and that goes right back up in here. And we're going to screw that all the way in for now. Okay, just gently, it comes to a stop. So we screwed this all the way in. We're going to back it out 2 1/4 turns. So that's a half, 1, that's a half, that's 2 1/4. And that should be a good starting point for that now. We can adjust it once it's on the bike. Fine tune it. Alright, put this fuel drain back in here. And now we can put the needle and the float back in. So the needle just slides into there. Yep, okay, it just drops in. Put the pin back in. We can put the float bowl back on. Goes this way, and we got to feed this arm back up through the accelerator pump linkage. Alright, and then 4 screws to hold the bowl back on. Okay, now we can put the piston back in. So first we got to get the needle in the piston. All right. Yeah, that worked. All right. So that's back in there. All right, now we can put the piston in. Insert the needle down through the needle valve. I'll line up this little thing. Actually, I'm going to fold this down first. All right. The spring goes in there. Okay, and now we can put the idle adjuster back in. Oh, it is that way. So, and then this spring goes on there. And a washer on the end. And then we're going to put this little cotter pin back in. Ideally, it would be a good idea to get a new cotter pin, especially a thin one like this, because it's going to break. But if you bend it too many times, but I'm just going to put it in like this for now, because I'm probably going to be taking this apart again to put the gasket in the float bowl and stuff. Okay, that's not gonna come. This is just for testing purposes. All right, and then we need to put this in there. All right, we are ready to put this back on the bike. Okay, and we've got, this is the fuel drain. Okay, and the vacuum line. Vent, maybe. There we go. That's back on. Alright, now we're ready to go back on the bike. Alright, and to put the carburetor back in, we're just going to do everything in reverse. We're going to feed those hoses down there. Get that out of the way. Alright, we're going to fit the intake back into the air hose. Now we're back in line. Alright, so while this is back a little bit, I'm going to put the fuel bypass back in. Now, alright, I'm not going to screw it in right now, it's got to move forward, but at least we have it back in the hole. Let's see, we need to feed the air line, the air hose from the air box to the carburetor. We need to get that seated again. So I'm going to put this nut on here just so it doesn't get lost and kind of hold the carburetor in place a bit. Alright, that's pretty good. That's reseated. Let's put the fuel bypass in. Alright, that's just plastic, so we don't want to torque that down too hard. So we can put these lines back behind the rubber flap here. All that back in. We can crimp these back down. Probably don't want to go too crazy because, like I said, I'm probably going to be taking this back out again. Alright, that side's good. We need to tighten the hose clamp. That's on the other side. We need to tighten down this nut, but we're going to put the nut on the other side first. We need the fuel line. Now that clamp's back in place. Alright, fuel line's back on. So I need to... Alright, now I need to tighten things up on the other side. Alright, so I'm going to tuck that hose back underneath there, tuck this one behind there, and we're going to tighten up that hose clamp. That's tight. Let's get the nut back on the intake over here. That's tight. I already tightened the one on the other side while the camera was off. All right, now put this right back in. Okay. Okay, and put this wire back in. All right, now we can reconnect the throttle cable. So, first, wrap it around there. All right, and now we can put the screws back in for the bracket. Okay. All right, let's get the other throttle cable back in. All right, and then we can move this back up. Okay. That needs to be. Goes. Yeah, anyway, we're gonna mess with that some more later. We got the carburetor, everything is all back together, and we just need to put some gas in this and see how it does. Okay, that should be enough. Let's test it out. All right, let's see what we got. Runs. Doesn't want to stay running. How about do this? Let's get the air cleaner back in. Okay, so this is the old air cleaner. It's pretty cruddy, so I'm gonna put a new one on. It's because when I bought one for the other motorcycle, I bought two, so I have one. All right, and then we connect the hose. All right, and that just kind of rolls in there. Line that up with the air cleaner, with the air inlet hose. Okay, and then this will push and hold it in place. replace the airbox cover. All right, let's try it again. That's pretty nice. Still not quite warmed up yet, that's all. Yay, it runs. So I don't know if that had more to do with changing the gas than actually cleaning the carburetor, but one of those two things was the answer, and now it's running. So when I took the carburetor apart, it seemed pretty clean, so that may have been it, but I think it was more the gas. So if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like it, and I will put a playlist for it right here so you can watch more videos about this motorcycle. Also, please consider subscribing, and if you want to help support this channel, please click the join button below to become a member. Thanks for watching. Take care.